Rain lashed against the windows of Mira Kapoor's apartment, the relentless downpour creating a symphony of melancholy that mirrored her thoughts. The dim light cast long shadows across her cluttered desk, where papers and photographs lay scattered, each one a piece of a puzzle she was desperate to solve. She sat hunched, her fingers tracing the worn edges of a manila envelope, feeling the weight of the years it had endured, the secrets it held within. Inside, old case files, their paper brittle with age, whispered forgotten secrets, tales of sorrow and despair that had been buried for far too long. Black and white photographs slid from the envelope, fanning out across the desk like fallen leaves, each image a haunting reminder of a past that refused to stay hidden. They were images of the Eternal Haven Asylum, its once grand facade now a canvas for decay, a monument to the forgotten and the forsaken. The asylum had been closed for decades, shrouded in whispers and shadowed by tragedy, its halls echoing with the memories of those who had suffered within its walls. Mira's gaze fixed on a faded portrait of the asylum's founder, Dr. Alistair Crowe, a man whose legacy was as dark and twisted as the corridors of the asylum itself. His eyes, dark and piercing, seemed to bore into her soul, as if challenging her to uncover the truth that had been hidden for so long. A shiver ran down her spine, the cold touch of fear wrapping around her like a vice. Why did this case feel different, heavier, imbued with a sense of dread she couldn't shake? It was as if the very air around her was thick with the weight of the past. The air in the room grew thick, heavy with the weight of forgotten things, the ghosts of the past pressing in on her from all sides. Mira could almost hear the echoes of screams, the rustle of unseen gowns, the faint whispers of those who had once called the asylum home. This was more than a case. It was a journey into the heart of darkness, a descent into the unknown. This was a descent into darkness, a path that would lead her to uncover truths that had been buried for far too long, truths that would change everything. Morning mist clung to the grounds of Eternal Haven like a shroud. The asylum loomed before Mira, a skeletal monument to despair. The iron gates, rusted and overgrown with ivy, creaked open with a groan. A shiver ran down her spine as she stepped onto the overgrown path. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the rustle of leaves underfoot. As she neared the main entrance, a figure flickered in the window, a fleeting shadow that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Mira's grip tightened on her flashlight. Was she truly alone in this forsaken place? The massive oak doors yielded with a groan, revealing a cavernous hallway shrouded in shadows. Dust motes danced in the pale light that filtered through grimy windows. A sense of unease settled upon Mira, a primal fear that whispered of unseen dangers. The air inside the asylum was stale, heavy with the scent of mildew and decay. As Mira moved deeper into the building, she felt an oppressive presence settle upon her, a feeling of being watched. She passed by rooms where rusted beds still stood, stripped bare of their linens, and restraint chairs bolted to the floor. The air was thick with the residue of suffering, the silent screams of tormented souls. In one room, she found a child's doll lying discarded on the floor, its porcelain face cracked, one eye staring blankly upwards. The sight sent a chill down her spine. What horrors had these walls witnessed? Suddenly a door slammed shut down the hallway, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the oppressive silence. Mira whirled around, her heart pounding in her chest. There was no one there, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was not alone. Section 4. The Founder's Shadow. In the asylum's library, dusty tomes lay scattered across the floor, their pages brittle with age. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and forgotten memories, each book a silent witness to the passage of time. The dim light filtering through the cracked windows cast eerie shadows, making the room feel like a portal to another era. Mira ran her fingers along a leather-bound volume, its title barely visible beneath a layer of grime. The book seemed to pulse with a life of its own, as if it held secrets waiting to be uncovered. She hesitated for a moment, feeling a strange connection to the ancient tome, before finally opening it. The book was authored by Dr. Alistair Crowe, the asylum's enigmatic founder. His name was synonymous with mystery and dark rumors, whispered among the townsfolk for generations. They spoke of his experiments, his obsession with the human soul, and the tragic events that led to the asylum's closure. As Mira delved into its pages, she uncovered disturbing theories about harnessing the energy of souls, of manipulating life and death itself. The illustrations were grotesque, depicting twisted experiments and shadowy figures. Each page seemed to draw her deeper into Dr. Crowe's twisted mind, revealing a man consumed by his quest for power. A portrait of Dr. Crowe hung above the fireplace, his eyes seeming to follow her every move. The painting was old, yet the colors remained vivid, capturing the intensity of his gaze. It was as if the portrait itself was alive, watching, judging, and waiting for something. The resemblance to the man in the photograph from her apartment was uncanny. It was as if the same soul had been captured in both images, spanning decades. The connection between her and Dr. Crowe felt more profound with each passing moment, as if their fates were intertwined. But there was something different about his gaze in this portrait, a darkness, a hunger that sent shivers down her spine. His eyes seemed to bore into her soul, revealing her deepest fears and desires. The longer she stared, the more she felt an overwhelming sense of dread. A sudden gust of wind slammed a window shut, shattering the silence. The noise echoed through the empty halls, amplifying the sense of isolation. It was as if the asylum itself was reacting to her presence, warning her to leave while she still could. A name whispered through the air, barely audible above the howling wind. Crowe. The sound was chilling, as if the very walls were speaking to her. It was a reminder of the asylum's dark past and the lingering presence of its founder. Mira spun around, but there was no one there. The room was empty, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Her heart raced, and she struggled to calm her breathing, knowing that she had to stay focused if she wanted to uncover the truth. Only the feeling of an unseen presence, watching her every move. It was as if the shadows themselves were alive, shifting and whispering secrets. Mira knew that she was not alone in the asylum, and that the answers she sought were hidden within its haunted walls. Section 5. The Ledger's Secret. Beneath a floorboard in Dr. Crowe's former office, Mira discovered a hidden compartment. It was a place no one had thought to look, a secret space that had remained untouched for years. The dust-covered floorboard creaked as she pried it open, revealing a small, dark cavity. Inside, a leather-bound ledger, its pages filled with cryptic symbols and names. The book was ancient, its cover worn, and its pages yellowed with age. Mira's fingers trembled as she opened it, the musty smell of old paper filling the air. As she deciphered the faded ink, a horrifying truth began to unfold. The symbols were not just random markings, they were part of a complex code, a language that spoke of dark rituals and forbidden knowledge. Each page revealed more of the sinister plot that Dr. Crowe had been orchestrating. The names in the ledger matched those of victims from her previous cases that had left her baffled, haunted by the inexplicable. Each name brought back memories of unsolved mysteries, of lives cut short under mysterious circumstances. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Each entry was accompanied by a date, the date of their deaths, and a chilling notation, "Soul harvested." The words sent a shiver down her spine. It was as if Dr. Crowe had been keeping a macabre scorecard, documenting each life he had taken in his quest for power. The intricate symbols, she realized with a growing sense of horror, were a ritualistic language, a twisted perversion of ancient texts on the transmigration of souls. These were not just the ramblings of a madman. They were the carefully planned steps of a dark ritual, one that had been carried out with meticulous precision. Dr. Crowe hadn't just been studying souls, he had been capturing them, using his patients as unwitting subjects in his horrific experiments. The realization was almost too much to bear. He had been playing God, deciding who would live and who would die, all in the name of his twisted research. The room seemed to close in around her, the air growing thick with the weight of countless tormented souls. It was as if their pain and suffering had seeped into the very walls, creating an atmosphere of despair that was almost palpable. Mira felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the full extent of Dr. Crowe's atrocities. This wasn't just a case, it was a personal vendetta. Mira knew she couldn't rest until she had brought Dr. Crowe to justice. The ledger was the key, the evidence she needed to expose his crimes and free the souls he had imprisoned. She felt a renewed sense of determination, a fire burning within her. These souls were not just victims, they were prisoners, trapped within the asylum's walls by a man who had cheated death. Their cries for help echoed in her mind, a constant reminder of the urgency of her mission. She had to act quickly before more lives were lost to Dr. Crow's insidious experiments. With the ledger in hand, Mira prepared herself for the confrontation that lay ahead. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to face whatever horrors awaited her. The fate of countless souls depended on her success, and she was determined not to let them down. As she walked through the dark, eerie hallways of the asylum, the flickering lights casting long shadows on the walls, Mira steeled herself for the battle to come. She could feel the presence of the tormented souls around her, urging her on, giving her the strength she needed to see this through to the end. Finally, she found a hidden door, a secret passage that led deeper into the heart of the asylum. It was here that she would find Dr. Crow, and it was here that she would put an end to his reign of terror, once and for all. With a deep breath, she pushed the door open and stepped into the darkness, ready to face whatever lay ahead.